Hey everyone, we're back again with another meal. So today we're making bacon spaghetti squash. I really like this recipe. I don't know, I just find it delicious. I do have a love-hate relationship with bacon because I don't think it's that healthy for you, but I do think it can be incorporated into a healthy lifestyle. Honestly, I usually use it to make boring vegetables taste a little bit more delicious, and I think that's justifiable, but I wouldn't necessarily defend it over an avocado, for example. But whatever, let's just get into it, and let's talk about what you'll need to make this dish. First, you're gonna need half a spaghetti squash, half a pack of uncured bacon, and a little bit of garlic salt. You're also gonna need a knife to cut the squash in half, and a frying pan to cook everything in, and a baking sheet with parchment paper to bake the spaghetti squash, and a quarter teaspoon to measure out the seasoning. So first you want to preheat your oven to 425 degrees, but after you do that, you're gonna have to cut into the spaghetti squash. Now let me tell you, this is no easy feat, as you will see here. I don't know how much footage I'm really gonna leave in here because it was a struggle the whole way through. I usually don't even get spaghetti squash with such a long and thick stalk that you see here, but this one happened to have one, and sometimes you just have to deal with what nature gives you. So first and foremost, cut off the stalk. After you do that, the way I typically, I'm so glad I have this footage. You should definitely have a knife sharpener, okay? I pretty much use this every time I use a knife at this point because it makes such a difference. Do you see how my knife is gliding through that stalk now? Yes. Yeah, I'm telling you, a knife sharpener, you need it. You need a good knife, and you need a good knife sharpener. Anyway, what we're gonna do, or try to do safely, is cut through the spaghetti squash lengthwise first. Actually, that's the only way we're gonna cut through this. There's no second part. But I guess typically what I try to do is I go closer to one end of the spaghetti squash, and I stick my knife in as deep as I can get it. And then, I guess I'm going in for round 2 of sharpening. I stick in my knife as deep as I can get it, and then I push the knife down. So it's really important that you have a big knife. I push the knife down with my body weight. And mind you, when you're doing all this, make sure that your angles are safe. You know what I mean? You don't want to slip. You're gonna have to use a lot of pressure to get this to work. If you don't feel like this is safe, I'm not, this is how I do it. I'm not saying this is the way to do it. If you don't feel like this is safe, especially if you're like younger than 18, all right? If you're younger than 18, I don't even know. I don't have somebody supervising you, okay? But otherwise, go on YouTube. There are different ways to cut open a spaghetti squash. Some people soften it first in the microwave. I don't know. I just like to get in it with the food that I'm working with. So I go to one end of the spaghetti squash. I get my knife in as deep as possible. Then I push the knife down. Now, for all my perfectionists out there, it will never be a perfectly cut spaghetti squash. It will always veer off to the side. I actually feel like the cut that you see here is pretty good. Like, that's probably the closest I've ever gotten to a cut straight down the middle. It almost always veers off to the side, but usually it balances itself out somehow once you get to the other side of the squash. And sometimes it doesn't, and you really just have to live with it. Get it as close to the middle as you can. But don't stress out because this squash is tough as it is. So once you lean your body weight into the squash and you kind of cut through like the first, I don't even know how to explain it. Once you've like had your knife really into one wedge, like you see me trying to do here. Yes. So I've gotten pretty deep, right? I've gotten pretty deep, as you can see. At this point, You can take out your knife, which I believe I'm going to do. Yes, be careful now. Oh, okay. Okay, I should have taken out my knife. I guess you don't, yes, there we go. You kind of don't have to, but you should, okay? Take out the knife, and as you can see, it's not close to the middle. Don't let it vex you. Take out the knife, put it like horizontal, I think, I would say. And then just press down. Just press down with your body weight. Your knife should be big enough that you can press from both sides. And you just want to push down. Always when you're cutting spaghetti squash, and honestly when you're cutting anything in general, but definitely when you're cutting something as chaotic as a spaghetti squash, make sure that the blade is away from you and that your flesh, your hands are nowhere near the line of fire of the blade. Sometimes it's going to be hard. Sometimes you have to compromise. Any chef that's been in the kitchen for some time has had a cut. I haven't had that many cuts in my day. I think I've had maybe 1 or 2 cuts in my years of cooking. I've been cooking for years. And I've only had 1 or 2 cuts, which is surprising because I don't really use a lot of safety precautions. But a lot of seasoned chefs would say that I don't, cut the right way. But I just always make sure that the blade is not, near me. And I am really careful about how much pressure I put because I don't want things to go crazy. So as you can see, we're making our way through the spaghetti squash. And like I said, it's not going to be a perfectly even cut, but the diagonal should work out. You know what I'm saying? It should work out well enough, and it won't be a 50-50 split. It might be a 60-40 split, and you'll be okay. So as you can see, I'm really bearing my weight down as best I can. I'm trying, and unless, if you have some, hulky buff dude that's around to just cut through the squash for you, kudos. I live by myself, so I had to do this by myself, okay? Maybe one day I'll have a buff dude help me out with my spaghetti squash. Anyway, we made it, okay? We made it. This is what the inside looks like. And as you could see, even though the line, the diagonal wasn't perfectly in the middle, we have a decent split. You know what I mean? It's not like I'm gonna be hungry one day and overfull the next day. It's a decent split. We can't split hairs about this. We just have to go on and make the meal. So at this point, you want to clean up your workstation. Something my mom always taught me is to clean up your workstation as you go. It always irritated me, but at the time that she was saying this, I was living in her house, cooking in her house, so I had to do it. And it's a good habit it's a good habit to foster when you're cooking and when you're starting out. So this time I decided to use the smaller squash. I don't know why, maybe I wasn't that hungry, but now we're gonna take the guts out, and that little container that you see there is where I put all my food scraps because I live in a place where we have a compost bin. So yeah, if you have compost, or if you want to start a compost for your community, I highly support it. We always want to make sure that our earth is still good for the next generation, so Greta won't cry. That's her name, right? Greta? Ah, man. Anyway, so yeah, scoop out the guts. You never want to forget to scoop out the guts. Get all the seeds out, because it can be a pain in the butt if you leave it in. After that, we're gonna put this right into the oven. Hopefully I preheated it before starting this video. Hopefully I did. We'll see. It does take a while for spaghetti squash to cook. Spaghetti squash is by no means a quick sort of meal. On the flip side though, spaghetti squash is something that you can meal prep. So what I used to do back in the day was I would get 3 spaghetti squash and I would bake them all on Saturday, and it would take a couple hours. I would kind of bake maybe 2 to 3 halves at a time. and I would just bake it for hours and hours and hours. My oven was pretty good. This was the oven I was using. So I would just bake it, and then I would put them all in a really big Tupperware, and then throughout the week I would scoop out like 2 cups. So 1/2 of a really large spaghetti squash is roughly two cups of squash, and then I would put it in the microwave, and so I wouldn't have to bake it throughout the week. So I would highly recommend that if you're interested in meal prep and you want spaghetti squash to be a part of that meal prep. Anyway, as you saw, we're baking it at 425 degrees. It went in at 1227, and it's coming out at, ooh, look at this footage. Okay, it's coming out at 154, so I guess I did not preheat at all. That seems like that was about an hour and a half. I guess I just didn't care this day. I guess I just wasn't even hungry, or maybe I was hungry and I decided to suffer through it. So let's take the squash out and see what it's looking like. Ooh, I'm not gonna lie, this looks like it's a pretty good, well-cooked squash. Squash is very hard to overcook, very hard to burn. There's just so much water in it. You would probably have to cook this for 2-3 hours before it's like overcooked, or, you know, I don't even think it would burn. I think it would just dehydrate before it burns. Like, it's very hard to overcook squash. It's also hard to overcook mushrooms, apparently. I don't even cook mushrooms that long to begin with, but it's really hard to overcook squash, and you really want to cook it to the point where it caramelizes. You see that on the side? That is what you want. I'm telling you, that is what you want. You should notice some sort of difference in taste, but more importantly, do you see how that squash is just, it's just coming out, the spaghetti is just coming out like hair? That's what you want. That is what you want. You want it to come out like, you know, detangled hair. And you'll be very happy because the texture is that much better. And I mentioned this in a different video. A lot of online tutorials on how to cook squash will recommend that you poke holes in the back. I used to do that. I stopped doing that because it was a lot of work, and I didn't really feel like, I mean, I did notice a difference in taste, but I actually preferred the taste of the squash when I didn't poke holes in it. I felt like it added more flavor. I don't know if that was just in my head, but yeah, poke holes if you want to. I definitely think you should try it at least once or twice to see if you prefer it that way. And anyway, now we're gonna get into cooking the bacon. Mind you, you should have been cooking the bacon while the squash was cooking. You know, that would have been the smart thing to do. But on the other hand, maybe you want everything to be fresh and hot. Even still, you should still cook the bacon. If you want to save time, you should cook the bacon while the squash is baking. That's so interesting, bacon and baking. Anyway, we're going to use 1/2 pack of bacon for this recipe. You can save the other half in a Ziploc bag. And just a heads up, you know, I use uncured bacon because I thought that it didn't have nitrates, but I was pretty much wrong. So I guess it technically doesn't even matter if you want to use uncured bacon or not. The difference between the two is that they use nitrates from vegetables, but nitrates from vegetables as opposed to other sources still causes cancer. So, you know, you can't really get around it. Don't eat too much bacon. But I think bacon, you know, in the context of a healthy lifestyle, is not going to kill you. And hey, maybe it will, but you know, you only live once and you're gonna die anyway. So just do what you can, okay? I'm just giving you the information. The reason why I decided to say anything about it is because uncured bacon doesn't last very long in the fridge. It doesn't last as long in the fridge as regular cured bacon, I don't think. Just a heads up, you know, don't leave it in the fridge for like weeks. Anyway, we're gonna get into cooking this bacon. All you have to do is line it up on your pan and make sure all the different bacon slices have their own space, have their own room, have their own apartment, their own bed to sleep in. This seems like a very interesting pack in that the slices are very thin. I hope there's enough room. It seems like there will be, but it just, I don't know. I've never really had so many bacon on one side, but it seems like there's going to be more than enough room, which is quite nice. And so what we're going to do is just cook this bacon on medium-high heat. Usually I cook things at the highest heat possible, but bacon is one of the few things that you don't want to cook too quickly, or else it will burn very quickly. So on a scale of 1 to 10, most stoves are on a scale of 1 to 10. I usually keep it at a 7, maybe an 8. And yeah, just have patience, and it will cook the way you want it to. So we seem to have lost some footage, but you know, if you guys don't know how to cook bacon, just, you know, look at one of my other recipes that have bacon in them. You basically just want to cook it until it starts to tan on one side, then you flip it, and then it should tan on the other side, and then it's done. I almost always save the bacon grease because I just feel like you already, you know, computed it into your nutrition facts if you're even counting that sort of thing. You don't have to use all the bacon grease all the time, but I typically don't care. It's not like I'm licking the pan, so it's not like I'm really eating all of it. And I usually when I use bacon, I feel like it adds so much flavor that I don't need anything else. Like I don't need any extra fat, and I usually don't need that much salt. I know we're adding garlic salt, but like spaghetti squash literally brings very little to the table. I mean, it pretty much just brings color. So like, you kind of need a little something. I hope I only add like a 1/4 teaspoon of garlic salt. And you know, feel free to add fresh garlic if you want to elevate your palate. But anyway, we're going to add the spaghetti squash to the hot bacon grease. And we're just gonna, you know, cook the spaghetti squash. We're just gonna try to, I guess, infuse the bacon grease and flavor into the spaghetti squash. We don't have to cook it for that long, but you know, just enough. We're not even really cooking it because the spaghetti squash is already cooked, but we're just gonna, I guess, you know, allow the flavors to infuse. And we're gonna add some garlic salt any moment now, and soon this recipe will be done. Okay, so now we're adding just a little bit of garlic salt, a 1/4 teaspoon. We just don't want this dish to be one-dimensional, you know, but we don't need too much salt because we're trying to avoid hypertension, you know. And then mix. And at this point we should be adding the bacon. What? No, I'm so sorry. Mommy, look away. I'm sorry. Whoops. Listen, your mileage may vary. You don't have to add as much salt as I do. But honestly, if you drink a lot of water, I drink like 3 liters of water a day normally. If you drink a lot of water, you can handle more salt. Now, if you don't drink a lot of water, or if you drink juice and soda all the time, you know, then that's a different conversation. But if you drink a lot of water, the more water you drink, the more salt you can handle. Not saying that you should, you know, nurture a salt habit, but I'm just saying that might be why I add so much salt all the time. But listen, do as I say, not as I do. Add as much salt as you want. Normally I just kind of eyeball it. But anyway, we're gonna crumble up the bacon that we cooked before and put it on the top of this dish, and that's everything. I hope you enjoy it. Here's the price per meal breakdown. Here are the nutrition facts. Tell me how it was. Do you think I added too much salt? I wouldn't be surprised. Comment down below what you think. And yeah, like, share, subscribe. Definitely subscribe. And I hope you're having a nice day. See you next time. Bye.